Hello, darling viewers. It's Jen here at Check Her Joy, and this time I'm doing another Top 5 Wednesday. As always, the Goodreads group is in the description below if you want to check that out. This week's topic is books that aren't set in or inspired by the Western world. I actually have 6 books on this list because 2 of them are mostly not Western but also have Western influences. So the first book on my list is Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. This is his memoirs about growing up in South Africa during apartheid. And Trevor Noah is the product of a white father and a black mother, making him colored, and he was born at a time that procreating between black and whites was illegal, so he is literally born a crime. This is a really funny and yet honest look at what apartheid is like from the inside, from in South Africa, and from somebody who has this unique perspective of being colored but having black and white parents, and kind of seeing this broad spectrum of what apartheid did across the barriers. Why I say this one is sort of quasi on this list is that South Africa is settled by European settlers, and these are the whites that are kind of causing the problems with apartheid. So the whole situation with apartheid in South Africa is very much the product of Western influences, even though it's taking place in Africa, which is not part of the Western world. So maybe it counts on this list, maybe not. But it's an incredibly awesome and amazing book, so you guys should definitely check it out. I also picked Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi as being sort of a quasi book for fitting on this list. It starts off when Marjane is 10 and the Islamic Revolution happens in Iran. And she goes from growing up in this country that is more liberal to this very conservative Muslim rule is being set upon her. So when she's 10, she has to deal with things like wearing the veil, and all of a sudden women don't have the same rights, and things that she used to enjoy, like the music, are now banned, and really dealing with that culture shock of what it's like to live under this new regime in Iran. At the same time, there is this entire war going on around her. There are bombings constantly, and Iran is not an incredibly safe place to live. So she gets sent to school in Austria, I think, somewhere in Europe. So I'm pretty sure the second half of this book is her experiences in Vienna and what Europe is like, and comparing that to Iran and how that influences her opinion also. So at least half this book is set in a Western culture, but the first half is in Iran, and it comes from a character, a memoir of somebody who is from the Middle East. So I love this book. So that's why I put this book on the list. It's another really amazing memoir, and totally check it out. Okay, moving on to my solidly not Western picks. I have A Long Way Gone by Ishmael Bey. This is also a memoir. Ishmael Bey was a child soldier in Sierra Leone in the 1990s. He's orphaned at the age of, I think, 10 or something, because of this war going on, and then he gets forced into fighting for this band of soldiers, and just what the realities of that is like being a child, and how the army is using things like drugs and feeding their hatred and fear so that these small children want to fight. I think he's 12 or 13 when he starts fighting, but some of the boys that are soldiers are as young as like 10. And it's just horrifying. This is what's actually happening in the world and what those realities were like. It's honestly been a while since I read this book, so I only have vague memories of it, but it definitely stood out as being a really strong and powerful book. So check that one out. The next book on my list is The Strange Library by Haruki Murakami. This is magical realism. It is a Japanese short story that follows a young boy as he goes to do research in this library, but ends up getting led down to the basement and getting stuck there and encountering all these strange and bizarre things that are happening in the library. This is definitely a creepy story, and it's interesting and entertaining. It's also short. I think it did not take me long to read. Like, it's not a terribly long book. There are lots of pictures in it. So hence short synopsis, I guess. Next on my list is Binti by Nadini Okafor. This is a science fiction fantasy novel that takes place in the future, but it's based on the Himba tribe of Namibia. They're by Angola in Africa. And this tribe has unique cultural customs, like using this clay substance to purify and clean their hair and body because water is not available to them. And it's definitely this tribe that is more remote and not westernized, even in the future. So in this book, we have Binti, who is a very skilled mathematician. In fact, she's called a harmonizer, and she builds these technological things called astrolabes, which are kind of their communicators' phones. Binti gets accepted into this university on a different world, and she is really excited about this, but to do that, she must leave her family and her culture and her tribe, which doesn't leave. And so we have this culture clash between her and the rest of the world, which she calls the Kush people, and also this alien race called the Medus. This is a novella, but it's part of a 3-book series. So, ta-da! Really love the writing in this. It is freaking amazing. And my number 1 pick is the manga series Library Wars Love and War by Kiroro Yumi, and it's based off the novels by Hiro Arakawa. And these mangas follow library forces, so this is literally an army made up of librarians that fight censorship. And it's amazing and fantastic. So this takes place in the near future in Japan, and in this world, the national government has set up this law saying that they can censor anything they don't like. The government can do that. They can censor especially books. And the library forces have teamed up to fight the censorship and oppose it and say, hey, this isn't right. And a lot of this series is protecting books and customer privileges and making sure that everybody has access to information. And I super adore it. It doesn't hurt that the main character Kasahara, it's been a while since I read these. She's definitely a tomboy. She's also the first girl to join this elite force of the library forces, which are like the upper commanding officers. She's getting trained to do that. And she has a love interest in her teacher, Dojo, which is just super cute and adorable, and they fight constantly, which is like my favorite type of romance, honestly. So I really love Library Wars, so you guys should check that out too. Okay, so those were my top 6 picks for non-Western books. Let me know in the comments below if you have read any of these and you agree or disagree with me on these being on the list, and what non-Western books would you pick and recommend. Yeah. So, peace out. I love you guys, and keep reading. Bye.